Fridays. Yeah, and not nice Saturday or Sunday.
No, it's like at our place, 13. Kids want to go to the beach. I'm like, oh, that's enough.
Yeah, because we're trying to pick the date for golf. Trying to do one, like,
yeah. We were doing the
Friday
Friday then.
so we're thinking Friday. What about Four Counties on Fridays?
Is there a golf course out there?
There is, but
I feel like it's maybe one of the number where the school tells them like pull down.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you can just do that, just go for this. It's like, here's your winter coat. You're on the waterproof. I have a waterproof jacket. I just don't. No, I definitely put your snow in.
Use the like.
it just sounds terrible.
Well, because she's gonna be in like North Bay area,
So yeah.
it'll be chilly. So fishing last night. You should have came fishing last
See
night.
if Marky will rent me his guy.
On here.
My son and I went fishing again last night, and I caught the first fish, and I was like, yes. And then I caught the second fish, but then you need to cut the water, so it spit the hook.
Is there a way to make that bigger?
Next thing you know, I caught 3 big ones in a row. Like, and I was like, that's not fair. He was using his new lures that he bought up Bass Pro online.
Oh, that's cute.
So funny.
This is
I'm a talker.
fish.
Yeah,
It's not on the weekend.
sure, mine.
There's Jody's fish.
Be moving.
Rock bass.
It is a good size rock bass. Funny, Aunt Kira was a taxidermist. Rock bass, like.
That.
Really?
So,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
shockingly, right?
Yeah.
You can do the meeting.
By the time I cleaned it, it would have like this much.
Well, these people we went fishing with.
Early, but
You ended up printing it.
Morning, night chat. What's that up? Yeah, we're already on it. Yeah.
Printed it.
On it.
Got
Otherwise, I was gonna think. That's my computer then. No, how are you?
I got two.
Yeah, exactly.
Blank. I know.
Like the gossip.
It's like wrapped up in the way. It's so cool. Jeez.
it. To have like a bin of or something where we can just.
I have a bunch in my closet. Some sweaters. It's Brian's cost cutting too.
And some of the comments, just so you do that. Wait, Mitch. Right space, the right place.
Yeah. I'm scared for a second.
Trying to get in. Trying to get into that.
How are you? I'm good. You're busy as already.
I almost did. So I did want this. I just like sat there.
You're welcome. And then if you want the afternoon, you
We stayed in Scranton for 5 years.
It's different for us. I have no idea.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the last part.
What is it?
You.
Yeah, I have two, so, Up at this house.
You didn't sleep well?
Slept well.
I didn't sleep well.
Sound. I was gonna say maybe.
Everything went to Christmas.
Sleep well.
I said, I'm not used to it.
Usually the beds are running.
Really? I.
But he is, oh, that's your daughter. I know how to be.
Little teeth, please.
Their teeth are mine at trees.
I know.
Like my guy. But he's to teach him by the chew.
Tom used to afraid of me.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah. Why? The Rollins.
Oh, no.
The hockey team doesn't do this. Their games grab like walk 9:30.
Uber driver, some kind of driver was driving by and I'm like, can't take us home and there's like sensors.
They're like,
Very, very nice. Yeah, very nice.
I don't know.
Never.
9 or 9:30 on Thursday nights.
Oh,
From like the end of September, like
to see Pepsi.
middle.
On
To buy it.
Yeah.
Really cheap.
But everyone else seemed to really enjoy themselves. Yeah. I drove just a day. Bullied.
I get it tastes like pumpkin syrup because
I was there and I was mean. I was that.
I love like a Pepsi and lime. You can like also. Right.
Actually, yeah, no, that is true. I have that a lot of time.
Three of us.
Well, I could just. That's good. Oh, that's.
Yes, yeah.
I can ask all of them for advice.
So we just go for no big, just lime. All, like they don't even have like a first piece. This one's like they do like, and then it's but limo is also just like yellow lime. They met the lemon. Definitely your
Windows.
and every day.
Yeah. You can our student.
Like an hour yesterday. So that was just because.
No, I know. I keep saying Gilbert too.
I'll see if I still do, just based on,
There you are. New experience with our cameras up and running in the auditorium. Welcome this morning. Really pleased to have our Discovery Week students joining us. And other guests and lots of people I saw are in with us online, which is fantastic. So I'd like to begin by saying that the Middlesex Hospital Alliance acknowledges that our 2 hospital sites are on Indigenous land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people for thousands of years. There are longstanding relationships of the 3 local First Nation groups of these lands in Middlesex County. We wish to recognize the 3 First Nation communities with longstanding ties to this area: Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, who are Anishinaabe, Oneida Nation of the Thames, who are Haudenosaunee, and Munsee Delaware Nation, our Lunilalape, and we wish to show respect to these communities today. I also wish to point out that acknowledging the land is not enough. We must acknowledge the people of the land and actively strive to re-enfranchise them equitably on these lands that we both share. Becoming educated is a good first step. So today, I am really pleased to welcome Eric Hendrick, GMH lead consultant. Eric is a First Nations person from Moose Deer Point First Nation. He is dedicated to advancing culturally safe and equitable healthcare for First Nations people. Eric brings a wealth of experience and knowledge, focusing on improving access to social and health services and fostering meaningful collaborations between First Nations communities and healthcare providers. And we have been exceptionally pleased and honored to have him working in a consulting capacity with us at the MHA over the last year, actually, right? Pretty close. Welcome.
It is early. I will say that for everybody because I am feeling it. But so my name is Eric. Nice to meet everyone. At the back over here, I have Lena. Lena is my helper today, and what we're going to start with doing is the smudging. So I'm just going to quickly explain it, and then I'm not going to support the smudging. Lena's going to smudge with anyone who wants to smudge, just so I can jump into this and start rambling. Over here, what we do have is, and I'll grab it so you can see. So we have the abalone shell, and inside the shell we have some sage and we have tobacco. So we burn this. It's not going to be like a massive fire where you need to be scared or anything, but it's just a little bit of fire to start burning the medicines, and then we use the smoke. So do you want to get her going, and then we'll do it like a little bit of a demonstration just to show you how we smudge and what it is. The sage that we're burning is to calm the spirit, so it's for the spirit. Your spirit, spirits around you, spirits that were in this room. Like if we think about it, sage is like the Zen medicine, like the calm. Like we want to calm the spirits, we want to calm ourselves. You'll see people, Indigenous people, specifically like in a healthcare setting, when somebody passes, they'll smudge the space for that person's spirit, or if they get good news, maybe they'll smudge and just like, okay, that was a really hard situation, but we got some good news. Now let's smudge and like just reset. Inside burning of the tobacco is the offering. So we're burning tobacco for Creator. In other religions and cultures, they have God or whatever it be for you. But we have Creator, and we burn the tobacco as the offering. So the tobacco is the gift, and you'll hear in Indigenous culture that people give the gift of tobacco or tobacco ties. That's the offering, sometimes people say, or the gift, and that's what we use for elders, or we use to burn. Some people don't burn it, they put it back towards the land, or they put it in the water. Then Lena's got it going. Lena doesn't want to, Lena's always in the sideline, she never wants to be on the stage, so we'll go here. So this is like a little bit of smoke. What we do, we start by just like washing our hands, then we'll hold it, and then once you wash your hands, you can go over your head to get full body, and then people say like go to your ears to hear good things, to welcome new thoughts and ideas. For me, because I'm speaking today, I would go like towards my mouth to make sure that what I'm saying is good and I'm not just like rambling on and that I make something up that's bad. And then you go to your heart. And then like probably many of us in the room, when we're stressed out, our stomach is the first to go. So I go down towards my stomach. Let Lena add more sage in there. And then if you want to smudge throughout the presentation, you can just go up to her and she'll help you. And if you're like, I've never done this before, that's okay. We're pretty used to that. So Lena can also help you through that. So I know that everyone in the room is either already in health or wanting to become in health, or maybe a bit of both, that you're wanting to become a doctor, but you've already worked in health a little bit. So you're probably used to hearing some of these terms like First Nation, Métis, Inuit, status people. And this is what Canada thinks of Indigenous people. So this is how Canada defines Indigenous people. The word Indigenous is a pan term that really includes all of this. So me, as like in the introduction, I am a First Nations person. I also have status. I live off reserve, but I am a status First Nations person, so I have a status card. You might hear other people call it a tax exempt card. But it is a status card. And the reason why I put on here Indian, because on my status card, it says Certificate of Indian Status. So by the federal government, we are still viewed as Indians. Throughout time and history of Indigenous people, we've been called Indians, Natives, Aboriginal, First Nations, Indigenous, many terms that have been created by the government for us and not by us. Some of the terms are offensive that have been used before. One that really pissed me off that people say is Aboriginal. Say, if you use the word Aboriginal, you're gonna make me very mad. And we don't need to be like English majors to really understand what Aboriginal means. We know the prefix ab, and then you pair it with original. It's basically saying not original, and that is just one way to piss me off, but many folks off. And then as well, like each identity in here is separate, has their own teachings, has their own culture, but as well, like as you heard in the introduction, 3 communities close to Strathroy are Chippewa, Munsee, and Oneida. They have very different languages, they have different cultures, different teachings. So when you meet Indigenous people, we're not just Indigenous, we're all the same, we're very different, and we come from a variety of different cultures. I talk fast, so if you need me to repeat something, you can ask, but we could go to the next one. And then what does being Indigenous mean to us? So I've already touched on a few things: identity, culture, teachings, relationships. And this is one slide that I think would be very important for all of you to hear, is that being Indigenous is defined by the government, by definitions and terms. But to us, those don't matter. This is what matters to us, is our culture and our teachings and our community members and our family and our elders. So when you work with Indigenous people or First Nations people, this is what you need to remember. This is kind of the take-home wink wink. If I did a quiz, this is what I would highlight for you, is our identity. We're very proud people, even though the stereotypes in mainstream society is that all Indigenous people have diabetes, or they're alcoholics, or they don't work, and the reserves are dirty. That is far from the truth. We're actually very proud of our community and where we come from. We understand where we come from. We understand where our family comes from. And identity is huge, as well as one thing that I think will be very important for all of you while you become doctors or go through that, or you already are doctors, is going to ceremonies and going to communities. You work in a rural area like Strathroy, the communities are like, how far is the drive? Like 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if you go under the speed limit, but short if you go over. But you can go to the community I'm sure everyone's heard of a powwow before. That's a public event. You can go there, you can bring your friends, you can try some food, you can just even greet people and start meeting people. And there's people like Lena and myself who are there, who are from the community, who, if you said, hey, I've seen you talk before, I will gladly welcome you, show you around, introduce you to other people too. So it's not scary. I've heard some people that are younger say it's scary because of the stereotypes that they've heard, but it's truly not scary. I think the bars in the city are way scarier than going to a powwow. As well as you'll hear things like dancing and singing, and you'll get to see different ways of interacting. First Nations people don't act like in mainstream society where you say, hey, good morning, how are you? Good, good, you? Okay, pass by and you don't see each other again. We mostly know all of each other. Majority of us are related. When we're in a big crowd, we know each other's family, we ask how you're doing, and we mean it because we truly want to know. Or we know that somebody's going through something and we ask, hey, how's this person? How's it going? You probably have heard before, like if you work with Indigenous people, when somebody passes away or somebody's going to pass away, there's a lot of people in the room. If you look at a palliative suite with the First Nations person in there, they have a large family, and there's a lot of people in the room, and we truly do come together, and that relationship is super important. And you'll while you're going through like school and stuff, you'll probably start to hear that, or you do different placements, you'll see that. And just like it's very different from many cultures of what family means to each other and how family shows up, and just like be soaked in that moment. And then you'll have things like smudging. The family might smudge, the family might request a smudge, and we can all smell it. It smells pretty good. And it's like nothing to be shocked or alarmed about. As we see here today, we're smudging, and it's not like a big, like we have to close the door, or we have to make sure this is done. Like hospitals shifting towards accommodating and making it not as awkward. Like we don't need to go outside to smudge, we can smudge inside. Next one. Now I'm jumping in right to the hard stuff. So I'll start heavy, and then I'll end light in a positive note, because I never like to end bad. But 4 ways to harm Indigenous patients. I think we could take what I'm saying here and apply it to majority of the cultures around the world. What I'm saying here isn't just specific to First Nations or Indigenous people. You can take majority of this and transfer the skills and use other places. One of the things that really sticks out is denying cultural ceremonies or medicines. This happens often when we think of the relationship between First Nations people and physicians or providers, nurses, whatever it be, is denying and saying no. The reason is because maybe you don't understand it. It's not in your training to like look at something like smudging and see how that's going to help somebody. You look at it and you look for mainstream medication, westernized medication, say that's what's going to help you. But it's very different for Indigenous people, First Nations people, to include ceremony. Ceremonies and medicines are something that could be anything. So denying that really harms that relationship and harms that person, as well as a lack of empathy and understanding. I probably can look around the room and maybe see what people are thinking. What is smudging? What is it really doing? I don't really believe it, maybe. But just because you don't believe it doesn't mean other people don't believe it, and that's their way of living. So we can't just say, no, I don't understand, don't do it. No, I don't understand, so maybe I'm not going to offer it to them. And then falling into the stereotypes, like in healthcare, the one example that I provide is people say often everyone has diabetes when they're Indigenous or First Nations. That's far from the truth. Sure, maybe a majority of the people do, but I don't have diabetes, and look at me here. So I don't fall into that stereotype, and I hope that all of you wouldn't fall into those traps as well. The media loves to post things that are those traps and kind of that like clickbait. So you click on it and you're like, oh, what, why? And then you kind of get confused. So don't believe everything that you see or all the stereotypes that are out there. Go out, do that learning for yourself. One of the things that really will harm, and the reason why I put it at the top, is that when any provider believes that Indigenous medicines aren't medicines. So if you said that to one of your patients, or you said that to somebody in the past, you have a lot of repairing of that relationship to do, because it would be the same thing if I said to you, insulin isn't medicine, it's not going to help. You would come up with a million arguments to why it is going to help and why it's medicine and all that, and you're going to get a little defensive. Indigenous people are probably just going to not say anything to you, and you might not see them again. They might not be your client again. They might not want to come back to this hospital again if that's the mindset that people are having here. And as well, it falls into everything. It might be that you just don't understand, so you don't believe it's a medicine. It might be that you haven't participated before, so you don't believe it. And that is one of like if I wrote a quiz, that's another one of the key takeaways, that if you don't understand about medicines, you can't say that they aren't medicines. If you've never tried it, you can't say that it doesn't work. You don't know what it's doing for you. There's also ceremonies and ways that we do medicines. We don't just grab sage and start munching on it, and then I'm like, okay, my spirit's calm. There's a way that we do things. So that would be kind of the 4 main areas is don't do, because you might harm somebody if you do one of these things. Super high level, if we could probably get into the weeds later on, and I'm always available as well, just through conversation to help you understand. I love students. I think young people are the future, and I invest a lot of my time in working with students. The last school year, I had 7 placement students, so I believe in students and I want to support students. And majority of the students that I had wanted to become doctors. 2 were successful in their med school applications, so I can't wait, because then hopefully when I need advice, they can they can get back to me super quick. But we can flip to the next one. Then 4 ways to improve patient experience. So patient experience has a definition. It means something to everybody else, but what does patient experience really means? It means that we want the person to walk away feeling happy. We want them to walk away feeling like their needs were met, that they were heard, that we truly understand what they're saying to us to support them. Patient experience doesn't just start as soon as they walk in the doors, it's throughout the whole journey. It doesn't matter if they've left and then they're maybe trying to understand what their conditions are. Like, it's our job for patient experience, and everyone's a patient at some point, and everybody needs help from somebody else. So 4 ways to improve patient experience for First Nations or Indigenous people is to forget your Western ways. In school, they're going to teach you all of these things about like how you should greet people, how bedside manners. You're maybe going to come here and you're going to learn some ways. Forget that Western crap. It really doesn't work. What really works is just being you, being yourself, connecting to people. We don't need to be that like robot all the time. When you meet somebody, just say, hey, how's it going? Isn't going to hurt you. It isn't going to hurt them. We don't need to be that like rigid person. As well as some of the ways that you think might help somebody aren't always going to help somebody. So we could look at a variety of different treatments. You could say, this person might be depressed. They identify as Indigenous, but they live in the city and they haven't really been able to connect back to their community. Maybe looking at options to contact the Indigenous like navigator in the hospital, contact the healing space or another organization and say, do you know of any events? I have this patient, or do you know anybody that could come here? I have this patient. In your Western ways, they're not going to say do that. They're going to say just treat the condition. Just look at the condition. What are we treating? We're not really looking beyond how to connect and bring in other resources and look at community. And then understanding the communities around you. So if you were to work here, for example, and you had somebody come in from Chippewa, the Thames, and you're trying to build that relationship, understand them, but you know nothing about Chippewa, the Thames First Nation, it's going to be very challenging. You might not understand why they have the traumas that they have, or maybe have the reactions to certain things that you say that you have because you have no idea. So improving the experience will be understanding the communities around you. And like I said before, that could be going to the powwow and just seeing the community. It could be meeting with, if you're in a hospital like LHSC, they have an Indigenous health team, they have navigators, just spending some time with them, asking them questions. A lot of the time, for me, if you ask me a question, I can feel intent. If you're asking to be rude, then I'm not going to engage in conversation. But if you're asking to truly understand and start learning and doing that learning journey, then I want to help you and I want to be there and I want to help answer the questions. So it really does come to intent, and patients will see that. They'll see if you're just asking because of you felt like you had to in that moment, or they see that you're asking because you're very curious and you want to understand more. And then one way that you could also, in a hospital setting or in a healthcare setting, is do you want to be connected to the Indigenous health team? At LHSC, they have an Indigenous health team. At Strathroy, it is me. I don't always want to be frontline, so I'm not like promoting that loudly, but it is me that you could, like anybody here on the staff, if there's a First Nations or Indigenous patient and the experience isn't going well, they know they can call me and I'll come in and support. They know that they could just call me and I will be like, okay, I'll meet with the patient, close the door, see you later, I'll update you soon. So always asking those questions, even when if you want to go into family medicine or whatever you may be, asking the questions, are you connected to maybe SOHAC, which is the South, don't even remember the full name, Southwest Aboriginal Health Access Center. They have a variety of different services. You could learn that. That's another great organization. You can learn lots from their website, or you can even do like cold calls and start asking. Pretend like you have a patient and they want to be connected, and then start asking those questions to understand and offer that to your patients. Don't just offer services that you think are great in mainstream, offer those that provide culture, provide community, and support their identity. And then one thing that I hear often is that, and I said it earlier, culture requests are denied. So this is why never and no is in big letters, because those are words that we shouldn't have to say. If somebody requests a smudge, we shouldn't say, no, you can't smudge. Maybe because you say no because you don't understand the protocol or the policy or how to get them to support them there. Or maybe they're, one of the biggest things that I always hear is they're on oxygen and there's going to be smoke and there's going to be a match, and people say no. We should never, ever have to say no. There's always a way. There's always a way. And the way that you can find the solution is working with that patient, working with that patient's family. As you've seen today, we were smudging and we were burning sage. There is options to do liquid smudge. We prepare all that, we do all of that, we bring all of our supplies, and you could say, is there an alternative? They might say, well, we could do a liquid smudge. Okay, do that. Or they say, well, today that Eric's breathing fine. Is it going, like, is there a lot of smoke? No. Okay, well, let's try it, and then we can do oxygen right away again if needed. The room, if it's a shared room and there's another patient and you're concerned maybe for the other patient, let's find solutions to maybe move the other person or move the patient that's requesting smudging. You don't have to say no. And hospitals, majority of the larger hospitals do have policies and protocols in place. Same with here, we've worked on creating policy and understanding and having the entire team know what to do. So it's not just one person knows how to do it and they do it, it's the whole team supporting that patient. So you never have to say no. Yesterday I was at the Ford Counties Hospital and I saw that there was a bath, and Krista had said, oh yeah, patients can get their bath if they're here long term, then they can go in. And I said, oh, could they put cedar? Could they do a cedar bath, which is another medicine that we use? And she said, yeah, there's no issue with that. She's like, maybe they could put it in like one of the, I forget what you call the little baggie.
Stocking bag or something.
Stocking bag so that it doesn't go down the drain. And I said, you should. Right away. And just in casual conversation that came up of like, I said, could they do this? Yeah, they could do this, and then this would help us. Simple, easy, really it doesn't take a lot of brain power to think of a solution. It's just something, casual conversation that I saw. So improving the patient experience will be never saying no. Does that make kind of sense? Am I drilling that one in? That one, I don't want anybody to go away and say no to people. And one of the things that I will stress is trust. We know that for a long time, First Nations and Indigenous people we both haven't trusted each other. We don't trust the systems. We don't trust anything. There's a lot of mistrust there. So one of the ways to just kind of include Indigenous ways of living, there you maybe have heard before the 7 grandfather teachings. There are a variety of different teachings like bravery, honesty, trust, all of these different things. And anyone could that way. Anyone could start adopting those teachings, and you don't have to call them 7 grandfather teachings. You can just say, I'm very honest, or I'm trustworthy because I show up with respect, or I always follow through. So building trust with your patients and their family through respect. So respect again is going through, if they request smudging, you're going to honor their requests of their use of medicines, and you're going to work with them to make it happen. They're going to trust in you that you're going to help them, and that you're not going to, there are some people you'll meet on floors, in any organization, any health, anything, you'll see that people just say no. They'll be like, no, we don't do that. No, we can't do that. No, but the patient is trusting you to support them through that. As well as one of the best things that I can give you right now is the climate change. I'd like to call it climate change because if we think of climate change, it means that things are changing and they weren't the same as they used to be. One example that I always provide that I'm sure many of you in the room maybe say, or your parents say to you, is that back in my day, it used to snow and we had to walk to school and it was like mountains of snow. So now that doesn't happen really often to us down here. We don't have the mountains of snow because of climate change. So something changed and it's not how it used to be. And being an active ally is how you're going to create that climate change. Climate change also, like we could think of, if you're in a hospital or you're maybe in a city that isn't close to First Nation communities and they don't really think about it, that you are an active ally and you start asking questions. You start, hey, what do we do for Indigenous people that come in? Hey, what do we do for First Nations people that come in? Hey, it's June 21st. What are we doing for Indigenous Peoples Day? Hey, it's September 30th. Well, I'm maybe wearing orange today, but I'm going to wear orange again. And this is my Every Child Matters shirt. So being that active ally will be super important. How you do that is you do your climate change. You really got to change the people around you, change your environment. Changing your environment means going to a different environment and really understanding and learning. And then one thing that I also is a little bit of a quote, but quality care isn't just about healing visible wounds. So when we think of like patient experience and the quality of care that the person has, sure, maybe when we think of like a surgeon, they want to have the littlest scar. They want to create a little scar. They want it to be perfect. They want the stitching to be good. I'd be like, that's good quality. Like, look at how it healed. Sure, that's a visible wound that is healed, but quality care is looking beyond that. We know that Indigenous people, First Nations people have a lot of trauma. They come with a lot of trauma, and things aren't going to get better for them if we don't address that. And maybe we can't see that. Maybe we don't understand what does that mean. If we think of residential school survivors, does anybody know when the last residential school closed in Canada? What year?
86, 92, somewhere.
Different answers. The last one closed in around 96. So not long ago. You maybe hear people say that was long ago. That isn't long ago. And we also know that once residential schools closed, they transitioned into Indian day school. So a residential school meant that the child went to the school and that's where they lived. After that, they had Indian day school. So the kid went home, but it was the same idea when they went to school. It's the same treatment when they went to school. When we think about that, we think of like non-visible wounds. My grandfather was a residential school survivor, so he went to residential school. My dad went to Indian day school, and then I came along. So I'm generation number 3, who's trying to really understand why all of this trauma happened, maybe why my dad parents the way that he parents because of how his dad parent. And it's hard. It is very hard. If you think about it, I'll be very honest right here in this room. I'm the first person out of my family, out of the 3 siblings that I have, to finish high school and then go further, get a degree. That is very common for First Nations people, that you see that. So when I go home, I don't have parents that maybe have a great, fantastic job and truly understand the school work that I'm doing, or understand like, oh, I got to do this assignment, it's due. They didn't make it that far. Their trauma stopped them. They didn't trust in the system. My dad didn't believe in going to school because when he went to school, he was harmed. When he went to school, he was beaten. And then if we look at health as well, my dad will be the first person to tell you that he hates the dentist, because when he went to school, there's a dentist, he says his name, he didn't give him freezing, he just yanked teeth. If that happens to you, you're not going to want to go back to the dentist, right? We know as well, and you can do some more learning, that there are Indian hospitals. There were people that worked in these hospitals that only treated the Indians. Well, treating the Indians wasn't actually providing care and wasn't healing their wounds, it was causing more harm. So when we think about it and you look at the older generation that maybe comes into the hospital and they're more reserved, or maybe they wait to the last possible second, it's because of these traumas and experiences. And if you're like, oh, residential school happened a long time ago, they shouldn't feel that way. It didn't happen. Grandpa is 87. He's still alive. He's doing quite well. Sometimes he acts younger than me, which is a little crazy, but he would never go to the hospital. He didn't have to. He would never be like, oh, I have this sore in my arm. Maybe I'll ask my doctor about it, go through the x-rays, try to figure it out. That would be the last possible option for him. My dad, if he has a toothache, is waiting until it's the most painful thing he's ever had before he goes. And then going is okay, one of the kids have to go with him. There's a lot of like anxiety. It is not like an easy, fun day. And he talks about it for a week before the appointment. And then after the appointment, he talks about it again. Most of the time it doesn't go well because he's so anxious and he's so worried that when he goes there and maybe feels the slightest bit of pain, it brings him back. These non-visible wounds are something that everybody in health that works with First Nations or Indigenous people will face and will challenge. And it will be challenging to work with people that you're thinking you're doing your best job, but there's still something missing. You're not getting that relationship with them that you want, or they're very cold with you and you don't understand why, or maybe that they don't come as often as they should because of their condition. And these are things that we have to think about. And these are the bigger picture things. In mainstream society, it will just be that, oh, like they don't like to come to the doctor, people don't like to come to the doctor. But if we take that kind of Western view out of it and really understand the traumas and what that patient experience is that maybe they went to the Indian hospital and they were treated poorly and they don't want to go back because they don't want to keep going through that. So those are some of the takeaways. I know it's pretty serious now. I'm going to end a little bit. I don't even know how many slides I got left. I don't have lots, but be you, be kind, and help each other out is one of the ways that I live. If you saw me like in a Walmart and you said, hey, I heard you talk, I will be like, yeah, thank you so much. And we'll have a conversation. You'll be like, okay, he was kind. I'm also very me. I'm very loud, a lot of energy. I don't drink coffee and it's like 8:30. And this is the energy that I bring all the time. And then helping each other out. What does that mean? It means that if you're, say, working on the floor and a patient requests smudging and you maybe don't understand, or you know that your friend has practiced before or worked with a patient that has requested smudging before, say, hey, what do I do? Hey, how did this work here at this hospital? Or how did this work here at this clinic? And help each other out, help each other understand. Same with what we will do. Majority of us bring our own medicines. So you don't need to go finding something to help me smudge. I got it all. Just help me find a space. Help me like let facilities know that there's going to be smudging here. And then I do the rest. Help me out to get to my ceremony and the medicines that I need. I think that might be my last slide. Hopefully I need a water or something. Oh yes, good. Look at me. I know I'm probably a little bit over time, but I can open up to any questions, comments, but just want to say thanks because it is a super early morning to like sit here and listen to me ramble. And as well, if there's anything that like I'm a like thinker after. I'm going to take all of this in and then go home and be like, oh, I maybe should have said this, or maybe I had this comment after. So if you have all of those, I'm sure you probably have got an email from Anita a time or two that you can ask those questions and like we can continue that dialogue as well. Or send it to basically almost any email here, and they'll get it routed to me somehow, because I don't want you to go away and have a question and be like, I never got that answer, or you have to wait so long to get the answers. So, or if you are a quick thinker and you have something now, I'm always open to questions and answers. It's early, don't be shy, come on.
I know the answer to this, but I think it's a good one for the group to hear. So in my experience, I worked adult critical care where sometimes the outcomes were not always positive. One of the very first requests that I ever received from a family to do a smudging ceremony was for a patient who was on their way out. I had no idea what that meant, but I was wondering if Eric could maybe explain to the group why smudging at end of life is so important for Indigenous folks.
Yeah, so everyone will, no person will give you the same answer twice. No community will give you the same answer. Each community is very different. If we, like you heard this morning, there's Oneida and there's Chippewa. You heard that there's the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, very different cultures. So what I'm saying is not an Indigenous like term. Don't take it for all Indigenous cultures, communities, everything. The reason why we smudge when the person has passed on or is passing on, and you'll maybe also hear like cedar bath or like I said earlier, liquid smudge, and you'll see them bathing, is for that cleanse, is for the spirit, as well as you'll probably like some places are hard, but if a person passes at home, they open the window, they open the door, they smudge their house. It's for the spirit. It's supposed to help guide and calm the spirit, and it's for us as well. So when somebody passes, we all know that it's very emotional, it's very heavy. You're probably in the darkest spot in your life when that happens, and the smudging is to bring back. The smudging is in there you'll have maybe tobacco, cedar, some sage, and you're burning it. The tobacco is the offering. Like, Creator, thank you so much. Like, thank you for not letting this person suffer anymore. Thank you for helping me through whatever, or giving me whatever to get this person back home. Burning the smudge for the smoke is, that's the spirit like traveling and stuff. And then as well, a part of that, what we do back home is light a fire. So we have a fire that helps guide the spirit. What they say is that there's a fire in the spirit world, there's a fire on our side, and the smoke and the lights come together and help guide the spirit. So smudging happens when people die, and it's very like intimate. Like, it's like I would say, like, there's not a lot of words. Not a time like where you're like crying. You're really just focused on the medicines, and that's really helping you. As well as in a healthcare setting, or in a hospital setting, you'll hear requests for smudging when people die. You'll also hear it for like if you're in a meeting and meeting's going south and it's pretty angry, and you'll see people smudge. It's that calm, it's that reset. So there's many ways other than just people passing smudging is used for. I agree.
I have a quick question. Sorry, this is Sophia. I'm online. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I know that we talked a little bit about smudging and different kinds of medicines. I get the sense that medicine as you define it might not be medicine as we define it. Could you define what medicine means to you or means within this context?
Well, I'm like no Merriam-Webster like dictionary to define what medicine means like in mainstream society, but medicine for First Nations and Indigenous people is like, you'll hear a lot of different terms, more than just plants, more than just medication prescriptions. You'll hear people say like laughter is medicine, crying is medicine, smudging is medicine. Really, what all of that is doing is supporting you. You know, when you think of crying is the release. When you're like so angry or so sad and you cry, you're releasing all of that. You're letting all of that go. The tears aren't you're crying because you're just an emotional person. The tears are coming because it's releasing whatever is happening. If you're angry, you're releasing all of that out. Smudging is calming the spirit. In a room of like smudging a room, it's whatever maybe negativity, spirit that, or like emotions that were high in this room, is supposed to like let that go, let that calm, let that be the reset. When people drink cedar teas and different stuff like that, they're drinking it to try to get rid of an illness. Like maybe they have like a cold or a flu, they're drinking that cedar tea. That's to let go of that illness, let go of it. So medicines for us is about the healing, and there's many forms, types, and stuff. It's not just like a prescription, a pill, a liquid, IV to us. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Else? The students are very quiet. Normally the students.
I have a question. So you mentioned things like ways that we can get involved, even like attending a powwow, for example. When it comes to something like that, would it be best recommended to go with an Indigenous person versus kind of like attending on your own? Like, how do you best approach the situation? Obviously, if we're trying to learn more about the culture and the practice.
You're going to a powwow in a First Nation community, I would maybe ask somebody who's from that community the directions, because the GPS is not going to take you to the right spot. You're going to be lost and you have no service. But use Google Maps. If you're coming around this area, use Google Maps. Don't use Apple. You'll get lost. That'll be bad. But you could go alone. Or you could go with a friend. In the City of London, I think this year they're doing their event on the 20th, on the Friday, in Wortley Village. You can show up. There's not gonna be somebody at the door that says like, hey, do you belong here with the light in your eyes? Okay, yep, you do. Come in. Nope, you don't. Go away. You can just walk in, start asking. There'll be a variety of vendors. You can ask the vendors. There'll be the grounds where people are dancing. Just chat with the people beside you. And yeah, if you're going to the community, like try to figure out like where it is, Google Maps it a little bit so you don't get lost. As a student who we were hosting an event at the Seniors Complex in Chippewa, I was sick. I was at home and I was supposed to be the MC and I couldn't make it, so I sent one of my students and I like tried to send a screenshot of what the building looked like, tried to give the address, tried to give everything. She still got lost and then had no service. So I called my team and I'm like, hey, could you drive around and find this vehicle? Lost. So that'd be my advice. Make sure you really know where it is. Anybody been to a powwow or like an event on June 21st? I didn't see no hands here at the front. So that's my challenge for all of you to go this year.
Is there a central resource to find dates of events?
Like I would just, you can Google, like Facebook now has AI, so you can just Google, like search things on Facebook and it will generate posts that come up. Majority of the stuff that you're gonna find is gonna be on Facebook. But you could also look at, like in the City of London, they have SOHAC, they have at LOSA, you can look on their website or their Facebook page, and if there is something, they're probably sharing it on their social media so that it reaches the most amount of people. Well, like that brought up a good point, just like random, not even close to what we're talking about, but a question that people ask all the time is when they start going down their own learning journey, they'll see that the federal government uses Aboriginal for everything. When you look at the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action document or report, it says Aboriginal in there. One of the, like, don't say it, like change it, change the word. The federal government doesn't change the word. As you heard earlier, I have a certificate of Indian status. That's what it says at the top. On their website, they say Aboriginal. So when you go through that learning journey, really just be mindful of maybe the words that you hear. The government uses language like that to continue to oppress Indigenous people and First Nations people. People ask me, one of the questions that I get is, do I think it will ever change? No, I don't think it will ever change. I could go on a whole other like lunch and learn about that, but I don't think it will ever change. So when you look through that document, you'll see the word Aboriginal, but just like scratch it. Just don't say that word. Just, you can read it. It's not about, like, you need to read it to understand what they're saying, but don't, if you are going to say like something in the future, don't use it. Specifically for healthcare, the calls to actions are 18 to 24. So they break it down into sections: education, child welfare, health, social, a variety of other different things. And specifically, like, you don't need to remember all 94 to be an ally, but look at 18 to 24 and see what fits, see what connects with you. One of the things that I share with leaders, like the CEO who's in this room, is that for a CEO in a position to really act on the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action and be an active ally is making sure that Indigenous people are in leadership positions. Looking at staff, here we're close to 3 communities, looking at staff and see who's in a position. Do we have Indigenous people in leadership positions? Do we have opportunity for Indigenous people to be in leadership positions? So that's one way at like a healthcare. I can't remember the exact number, but one of the calls to actions are bringing more Indigenous people into healthcare settings. And that's one way that the CEO can look at a call to action and commit to it. As a provider, you can look at when it talks about culture and identity and allowing culture and identity into spaces that it never was allowed before. Other questions?
Firstly, thank you, Eric, for the Presentation. I'm Dr. Theo Caruzis. I'm a family physician, but I also practice palliative care in the community. I do Indigenous palliative care and Westernized palliative care. My question is, can I lean on you as a resource for some of my patients in the community here in the hospital? I have a large Indigenous group in my family medicine practice outside of my hospital work, but your services specifically, is it more limited to the hospital setting or outside of hospital as well?
I'm kind of everywhere. I'm everywhere. So you can call me, shoot. Actually, don't email me, text me. If you want to respond, send me a text. Don't, email will be a little bit slower. But yeah. Or like social media, I'm on LinkedIn, whatever, you can send me a message.
Hi, I just want to say thank you as well. I think it's really important that you tell us what not to say, because I learned today about the word Aboriginal. I would have never thought that never to say that. So I appreciate you being forward in saying that so that we understand. I think that's really important that we know those things.
It's just one that pisses me off. So nobody says it to me.
Well, you know, I'm never going to say it again, right? And I think that's what we need to hear. What's important to you is important to us as well.
And that's like a part of the climate change that I said earlier is you change your language, people around you change your language. And when we want to be the active ally, we have to say, no, don't say that. That's offensive. Why is it offensive? Well, this is what it means. Or this is what I've learned. So perfect example. Yeah.
This was something I wanted to say as well. One thing about the powwows we were talking about, I've been to the Kettle Point powwow, and I highly recommend to anyone to go to that one. It was a very excellent learning experience for my whole family. We went years ago, and years ago before I really got into my own learning about the Indigenous culture. But my kids learned so much. It was a very, very positive place to be. Even though we felt like we were outsiders, everyone was so welcoming. And it is a really spiritual kind of place to be. It really connects you to everything and to do with the Indigenous cultures. And I do know that it's held around the third week of July. And they usually, if you go on Facebook, Kettle Point, First Nations, they have all that information on there. So you should be able to find it pretty easily if you wanted to go. Good summer thing to do.
I say do it. Do it. There'll be like 3 here in Chippewa, Muncie, Oneida, and there'll be one in the city of London. You can find it all on like mainly Facebook.
Yeah, as well. It's a children's powwow in June 6th at the Chippewa Ballpark.
Went to Walpole Island. It was amazing. The colors, the dance, it was awesome.
When was it? A few weekends ago? Not last weekend, the weekend before, right? Yeah. It was chilly, but I walked through every food truck to find a sausage. I found one of the best sausages ever. But I walked through every one. I said, "What do you have on your menu?"
What type of sausage? Like, what was it called?
I don't know.
Find the same truck.
The food truck was like a little trailer. It had like a little hot dog on it. I forget what the sausage was called. It was massive. I loved it.
I want to look it up.
But yeah. So anything that you like, you'll meet other Indigenous people. I'll close now, wrap it up, and then I'm here around if you want to chat. But you'll meet so many Indigenous or First Nations people throughout your journey. They're going to give you like teachings that maybe you don't think in the moment are teachings, but you'll think on it a little bit, be like, oh, that was good. Or, oh yeah, that helped me with this patient because I remembered what maybe Eric said or somebody else said. Or I smudged with Lena when I was in med school, and now I feel a little bit comfortable when somebody says they want to smudge because I've seen it before. So if you forget all the things that I say, just remember that this is a learning journey and you're going to fail and you're gonna get back up, and you're gonna work with somebody like me who's gonna say, you shouldn't have said that, but maybe this is what you're saying, and I'm still your friend, don't worry, we're still cool. So if you forget all of the stuff that I shared about patient experience and just remember that this is a journey and you're gonna go through learning over and over again, but your intentions are what matters and what you say matters. So if your intentions are pure and you're good, then I'm your friend, we're allies, and let's help people. Let's change the system and let's change the world because we need it. So yeah, that's it for me.
I want to say a really big thank you to Eric and to Lena Miigwech. And thank you to everybody for being here, and especially you guys for getting up early in the morning to get in here. We all have to get up early in the morning, but we appreciate that you did also. And as Eric said, he'll be around. He's a fantastic resource. So keep picking his brains. Thanks, everybody.
I'm gonna scroll down, Mosh.
Right?
You don't want to freeze up, but.
Yeah.
Is the car back?
Service should go.
Well, I'll be back this summer.
Dr. Mara.
They booked everything. I don't need you.
I have to go on a lunch and finish those.
Yeah.
Two mandatory lunch, right? No, one is mandatory, which is like the
Lady, I don't
kind of like board.
Oh.
We just got another one. I don't know if that was mandatory.
I'm sorry.
You'll be getting it.
100.
It's Indigenous, yeah. Right? Yeah.
I was just wondering, I'm like, it might like, you know, people will like, if it's like, okay,
Yeah. Are you still tired?
I heard no.
I try to a little bit of chill. No, it's okay. I did take my intervention.
The other thing not giving you.
Yeah, it would be good to have some sort of.
Yeah.
Genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll mention it to Anita, because I'm pretty sure we talked and.
Yeah.
And I can.
Me neither.
Yeah. As far as the state.
Rounding on the same.
Yeah, like I would.
I really was.
We learned something.
What'd you learn?
It's not a big.
Oh, not that you're just stealing.
I actually didn't know.
New one, you should have known.
It was. And then you just.
Residential to what?
Now I'm in. That's what I didn't know that.
Like, how much time do I have? I'm like rambling.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Is it getting? It's good. I have some homework to do, but I also have like.
It was the green one?
Yeah, 100%.
Very good.
For me, it's like.
Oh, I'm definitely.
Okay, that's great.
I think I'm like on guard, even though I'm not doing stupid stuff, it's just like.
We were this way, kind of feeling like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'll bring it.
Does everyone know where they're going?
Then we started walking in.
Yes.
No, I don't.
I know
People and they made it.
don't know where it is.
I will.
You want to grab a muffin or something?
I will. Yeah.
I wanted to back porch. So if I'm not in the room,
No, not more.
Neat. Right, that's perfect. And then I container to take them. By the time I got there,
Honestly, because we're gonna have to look at everything, it's just all the way down the hall, last door down.
Yep, like you.
Find our doctor.
The windows.
Find our doctor.
Just up at there.
Great question. Who is my doctor? Oh, I'm with Dr. Raj. I think I know what he looks like. Yes.
we have to go today or tomorrow.
Where's Sunset? No.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear.
I could grab it during the race. Grab this stuff during the race.
I don't know what you're talking
I wanna get him a bottle of 43.
I think.
Olivia, oh no. Wait. What?
When you have a sweaty. I don't remember. You like. Actually, his hand was wet. I'm sweating, Krista.
Okay, I'll like.
Thank you so much. I promise.
I'm just gonna ask them. Do you want to play?
Said it last year.
Or would I have to?
Going to Italy for a couple of years.
They have a friendship center similar to.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the exact same.
Even downtown, I'm like, oh.
We roll.
Okay.
My daughter, your first year, you're saying Windsor. Yeah, she's down there right now, doing a 2-week.
Yeah, I'm fine, Anita, I should take a sip.
Yeah, so she's right. When
If I go to school in Windsor, like I'm Windsor campus, so even when I'm in Windsor, but even around Windsor,
Oh, really? Yeah.
well, you said.
Yeah. She called me last night to tell me about her day. It's pretty interesting, you know.
I'm gonna have to go inside.
I go, that's all September. Okay, something was like.
So we,
I love it. Okay, well, yeah, I'm in Toronto.
it was like Mother's Day, like,
So I'll look around. Okay.
and, so we
So,
said to our daughter, like, where do you wanna go?
But I'm with Schulich School of Medicine, so they have the London campus. and they have their satellite
Yes, so, so.
Yes, so it's our campus, Schulich 48 of us in Windsor.
So.
Yeah, versus 150 in London, but we're all still in the same class, so here, like the girl sitting next to me, her name is Ashley, we're both from Windsor.
Anyway.
So I'm only there like September to, I guess I'm just finishing back home to the summer. So yeah, I'm home in the summer and then I'll go back to live with that. But it's okay, this is something right now. Like even like a 2-hour drive is nothing, I don't mind.
It's so cute, he does little things like.
I'm like, maybe I shouldn't drive.
So,
Yeah, probably.
Is it French house?
Okay.
Yes, today.
But every year, one of the events that I do is happens in May. We are in May.
Oh, the past.
But it's like conversations. Do
And
every year. This year it's
yeah, so it's in Burlington.
Okay.
we're close to
Door.
But
Okay.
like, so we get the chicken and
Are they like
lots of
Ryerson?
tomato
Yeah.
and the
I
rice.
think they just changed the name
So-
of, it's not
Anyway,
in Ryerson,
it's
Toronto
just
Metropolitan.
Anyway, so
You gotta try
Right.
the pomegranates too.
There's
There's a special, it's called Precision.
yes.
She gets
Very, very good. Like, well, most people, I think it's sweet and sour. And it's made from pomegranates and apples. So yeah, if you want to try like that.
If not, I'll get dry.
But it's
That's Facebook's the plug, of course. I love it.
Google.
Yeah.
Ask them AI.
AI helped me.
Like
Yeah.
around the corner.
Help me learn. I've always wanted.
There's a lot of times that we're better.
Take your time, get it. Sounds like a good time.
There was one, I went to one of school and they had this ice cream truck where the thing charged $2 for 2 sweets, but it was like £1.
Yeah, actually, but honestly, it's like regular ice cream trucks that like you get as small as like $8 now. So I'll get 2 pounds.
This was a lot. I'm like, this is a tough. Like,
Exactly, a whole Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah,
Like,
no
yeah.
bigger. I was like, this is not for me. My sister ordered it and I'm like,
Share it if you want it.
I don't want that. It was too much. And she got like cotton candy or something. Are you gonna be sick in my car driving home?
That's so funny.
What's on the way to?
Yes, nice to meet you too. Thank you. I'll look into Facebook to see all the
Yeah.
Toronto or around. Absolutely don't mind driving.
Chris is
Well,
sitting outside the pool with.
Normally do like a little bit.
What was it?
Have a.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, have a good day.
So Chris is sitting on the side of the pool, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take one.
Yeah.
But,
My uncle will be intended to be this morning. Pool, but I'm in there like, no, there have to be things, the whole thing is gonna start raining again.
Yeah.
It's only
No, I
kind
think
of
that
mixed.
Saturday.
And then like other random.
It's true, we did it.
Yeah.
There, and you'll start realizing.
It's like, get out a little early. go golfing. Maybe you'll call that day.
I found this interesting. Not just. City of August, but.
Yeah.
But they've got.
You could talk it to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, we didn't.
Well, yeah, don't, exactly, their particular language, because there are lots of languages. And pronouncing the names of their constituents and the names and basically their.
Yeah.
Wrote things down and I turned it into my own, like phonetic, so I can. Because I have been able to. And.
Yeah. The ones that they make.
Yeah,
Just for.
I mean, I'm here. Yeah,
So you think.
it's my first day.
Yeah, here. I've never heard anyone by your first name. They always say
So usually I go by that.
Oh,
Kind of
okay.
like.
She's doing really good. Yeah, oh my God, I'm the luckiest person. So,
You may use any of the.
I'm sure you see him. You did what?
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
He's just. More still at this.
Are you bouncing? Yeah, you gotta get to work.
Job.
On your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, we're friendly. That's the
Then you can
special.
just-
I just have to. This guy.